that we've got our login and sign up code working properly and very nicely with the keyboard as well, we're going to see how to display the user list for our users so that they can choose people to view their Instagram feeds. So I'm just going to sign up as a new user, and this will then redirect me to the user list, which will populate with all the users on our app in alphabetical order. And there they are. So that's all there is to it. I think you can pretty much do this one yourself. Do beware that you'll need to redirect to the new activity when the user signs up, when they log in, and also if they start the app and they're already logged in. Other than that, it's just a matter of creating an array list, populating it with details from a parse query, and then displaying that on the list view. Notice the parsed query will be a query of parse users this time, which is very slightly different to a query of parse objects, but it's so similar that I'm sure you can figure it out. So best of luck, hope it goes well. Alright, here we go then. I'm going to start by bringing in a new activity from the gallery, and I want an empty activity for my user list. And I'll call this user list activity. And then I'll drag in my list view. There we go. Give it an ID of user list view. And then before we set that up, I'm going to set up our intent to jump to the user list activity. And I'm going to do that in a separate method because we're going to call it from a number of different places. So we'll set up public void show user list, and we'll need an intent for this. So intent, which is going to be a new intent using the application context, and we want to jump to user list activity dot class, and then we don't need to send any details, we just want to start the activity. There we go. And we want to do that in 3 places. So the first is when the user is successfully signed in, which is here. The second is where the user has just logged in, so that's here. And the third is if the user is already logged in when they open up the app. So we know how to check for that. We look for if parse user dot get current user is not null, then we'll show the user list. Alright, so now when we run the app, we should find that because we're logged in already, we jump straight to the user list activity. While that's compiling, I will write our code to set up the user list. So let's create a list view called user list view, which is going to be a list view from find view by ID r.id user list view. And then, as usual, I'll set it up with just a basic array list before we actually synchronize with our Parse server. So we'll have an array list of usernames. It's going to be a new array list. And then we'll just add a simple test one for now. Then we're going to need an array adapter. which is going to be a new array adapter, and then we use this as the context, android.r.layout.simpleListItem1 as the layout template, and then usernames as the array list. And then we just take our user list view and set the adapter array adapter. Alright, so let's have a quick test. We should literally see the word test appear at the top of our list view after everything has been processed. And there we go. Alright, so our list view is now working fine. Let's change our code to actually populate it from our list of users. Now this is the bit that's very slightly different to what we've done before. So previously we had a parse query using parse objects. This time we're going to be using a parse user query, which works in exactly the same way. We're just returning parse users rather than parse objects. So we'll call it query, and this time instead of a parse object query, it's parse user.get query. And then the one restriction that we're going to have is that we don't want to return the current user to display on the list. So let's add a where, and we want not equal to. So there we go, not equal to. And we want the username to be not equal to the current user's username. So that's parse user.get current user.get username. I'm also going to put them in alphabetical order. So query.add ascending order by username. So that's optional if you want to have that there, but I think it makes sense. Then we run our query. So as before, find in background with a new find callback. And you can see that just as before, it returns a list of objects, but this time they parse users rather than parse objects. So let's do a check to see, first off, if there's no error. And for now, if there is, we'll just print a stack trace or log an error. And if there isn't, we'll check to see if there are any objects, i.e. any users returned. So if objects.size is greater than 0, then we want to loop through our objects. So we're looking for parse user, and I'll call it user in objects. And we want to add them to our usernames array list. So we need to define that first. So I'll define that up there and get rid of the test. And then we can use usernames dot add, and then we want to add the username, so that's just user dot get username. Simple as that. And then let's take our definitions of the list view and the array adapter, move them up there, and then at this point, well, not quite at that point, we want to do it when the process is completed. And we do just need to reclass that as a final list view so that we can access it from in there, and similarly with array adapter. Alright, so let's have a look. if we jump back over to Firefox for a moment, we can see we should have quite a few different users from my various tests. There they are. So those are the ones that should, with any luck, appear in our list view now. And there we go. You can see we've got them in nice alphabetical order, and by process of elimination I must currently be logged in as Rob234. And there we go. So I'm going to make a very quick change to some of our usernames just to make it slightly more friendly. So I'm going to change A to Kirsten, ASDF to Tommy, Rob to Ralphie, and we'll have an extra Michael in there as well, and then Rob234 I'll just make Rob. Alright, so now we're all set up and ready to go. We have our user list up and running. So our next stage is going to be viewing users' photos, and that of course we'll find out how to do in the next video.